Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. On today's video, we are talking about, is it better buying or renting the place where you live? Well, the conventional wisdom favors buying, but the percentage of people renting has increased or is increasing. Many people believe that buying a home is a better long-term investment than renting. But for how long you're gonna stay in the area is a key factor for you to decide if you wanna pay, if you wanna rent or buy. So basically, if you are planning to stay in a place or area for a long time, it's probably better if you are buying. But there are other factors that you may have to consider before you decide to buy or rent, such as the economy, financial responsibility, and ongoing cost of living. Bottom line, this is a complicated decision with a lot of pros and cons that you should consider depending on what stage you are in your life. So what do you think about everything that I just said?
I think you're right. You know, and you're not right.
You look like you wasn't listening. Are you sure?
I almost fell asleep.
Oh my God, you see? I need to keep you entertained. So let me bring you into the conversation. That way you don't fall asleep.
But, you know, I agree. I think that what you said is correct. And it's a really, I want to call it a touchy subject, because it's not a touchy subject, but a lot of people ask this all the time, especially to us, you know, why we're not buying or if we're going to buy and why we're renting and things like that. Not sure why they're asking this question. I don't know if it's, you know, what, gonna be nosy?
Yeah, could be being nosy, they want to know our answer why we ain't buying, right? Because depending how our opinion on the area, the place, the country, whatever, it can be many reasons why people want to know.
So yeah, when they ask it, we don't really take it as a bad thing, because, you know, some people just want to know that since we're living here, what are our thoughts and plans about buying. So it's a good question. So we decided to do a video about it, but I would personally say that it all comes down to preference, because people always have their reasoning as to why they do what they do. And to be honest with you, to me, there's no right or wrong reason whether a person decides to buy or whether a person decides to rent. People will say, like you mentioned in the beginning, that it's a better long-term investment, but that can be true, but it also depends on, like you say, the stage a person is in their life, what's best for them. And everybody's goal in life is not the same. So to say that because somebody told us that we should be buying, and I think that, you know, that person, you know, doesn't know what our plans are. So they should, you know, kind of stay out of, you know, tell us what we should be doing. But there are reasons why people do what they do. So, but before we get into, because we're going to answer the question what our plans are when it comes to buying and renting. But first, let's talk about the pros and cons of buying and renting before we get into that.
Yes, let's go to the pros and cons. So the first pro it is that you are able to modify your home anytime you want. Meaning that you are able to paint it the color you want. You want purple, you can have it purple. You want to accenting, I just not want to use the word destroy, but just renovate, take a wall that you don't like, half of the wall, and do things that you want to do and make it bigger, make it smaller, whatever you want to do. You have the freedom to do so.
So yeah, I saw you looking at that wall, because that's something that we've been wanting to do, or thought about doing. I ain't gonna say we've been wanting to do it, but we thought about doing it. We want to knock down this wall and kind of open up the kitchen, because it gets kind of hot in that kitchen when you turn on that oven. So, and then it just makes it a little bit more open. So
I was using my imagination how it would look without that wall over there, how big to probably do a thing where you can have breakfast, and I was just using my imagination, taking that wall down. So yeah, that is one benefit that you get when you own a home. Right.
And the next one is the ability to create wealth. So depending on the market where your house is located, it can appreciate faster than inflation, which is a major benefit for people who own their own home. And you could take the equity in your house and also use that as a down payment into another property. So that's another pro in terms of buying versus renting.
Yeah, and that point I do like very much because you are especially I don't know that much here because I haven't owned a property here, but when I did own the property in the United States, I did like that you're able to check like when the year passed, you're able to see the equity that you have, you are able to use it to get loans, and that is a good benefit.
Right.
And the next one is personal security, and that means that you will have to move if you owning versus if you are renting. Because when you own, you are locked down in a conventional mortgage or loan, and you will stay there. Supposedly you will stay in your home. Versus when you're renting, the rent can go up, and you may have to move, or they can ask you for the property, and you will end up moving.
Right, because most of the time when you get a mortgage loan, well, at least when I bought my house in Alabama, you're locked into a fixed conventional loan, which is 30 years. So it doesn't matter what happens to the real estate, whether it goes up, you are locked into that percentage that you have. Versus if you're renting and the person say, hey, I want to raise the rent up for another $200, that's a pro to buying a home, that you're locked in to a fixed mortgage rate, and then so you don't have to worry about any fluctuation in your monthly payments, and you don't have to worry about moving at that point, as long as you can pay it.
Yeah.
Another pro is there are important tax benefits that are associated with home ownerships, like you can deduct your mortgage interest rates and your property taxes on your tax returns. This lowers your overall cost.
Yes, I think that's another good benefit. And I think this is all the pros that we have thought about it. If it's any other one that you may think about it and we forgot to mention, please feel free to leave a comment down below. And now let's move on to some cons. And one of it is foreclosure risk. And you know, when you buy a home, depending on how your situation is economically, you can take the risk of being foreclosure in your home. And that you can lose everything that you already have put in your basement, and plus that will look bad on your credit report.
It's almost like a double-edged sword in the United States because, well, let me say it this way, because I'm not sure, I hadn't applied for a loan or anything like that, but when we first bought our houses back in 2008, it was really 2007, 2008, or 2009, I think, when you bought yours. It was really easy to get loans and for our homes, and everybody was able to get qualified for homes that they couldn't even really afford. And everybody know about this, you know, especially if you've seen that movie. I forgot the name of the movie. It's called The Big Something. I can't even remember the name of it. Where they sold all these subprime loans to people who really couldn't even afford the homes. The thing about it here in DR, they don't do that. You got to be able to qualify you have to really show that you can pay for what you can, pay for what the loan that you're asking for. So, yeah, so foreclosure is a con in home ownership. So a lot of people do get into these loans that they can't afford, and you just want to make sure that your finances are in order for you to be able to afford it. Because sometimes I know even when they do these little calculations, even when they did mine, they'll calculate it and say, oh man, you're just going to be paying $800 a month. And then once you sign your loan and all this stuff, and they tack on all this interest and your mortgage interest and what's that other, your home insurance and all that $800 that they showed you, it ended up being like $1,200.
$1,000 and some, or $1,100.
And you were thinking, okay, I can afford $800, but then when you figure out that, man, I got to pay an extra $400, especially when you live in check to check like that, you're not really calculating that into it. So foreclosure is a con when it comes to buying a home. The next one I think is a con is also a large upfront cost, which kind of goes hand in hand with what we're talking about, is because typically there is a down payment that is due when buying a property, and it's typically about 20%. Now when I keep going back to when I bought my house. Y'all want to know how much I put down on my house when I bought my house in 2008? She giving it away. $1. This was in Alabama. They were it was out in the county, and they had some type of program that was going. I only had to put $1 down. So Luckily, I wasn't one of those people that couldn't pay for it. But I can imagine how many people, got sucked into that, putting a down payment of $1. But that down payment can be around 20%, and here in DR, it's 40%. So if you're looking to get a property that's $100,000, 40% of $100,000, of course, is $40,000. So you're gonna have to put $40,000 up, and with a big chunk of money like that, you can use that money to achieve other financial goals instead of just getting it tied up into a home.
Mm-hmm. And another common is ongoing cost, on buying a property, besides the mortgage that you're going to have every month, but you also have taxes to pay, repairs, or maintenance that you have to make. Besides, some communities have other fees that you have to pay. Like, because I remember in Florida when we stayed over there, one time I was looking, and it was so many communities that have extra fees that you had to pay just to be in those communities. So those are costs that you have to keep doing every month.
Yeah, because remember we were gonna stay in like we were looking at was it a trailer park? Remember?
No, it was a lot of communities like that.
No, it wasn't a trailer park. It was they weren't container homes. They were trailer homes. Remember? And we went over there. They were like $700 a month. And we went over there, but they didn't tell us about the community fees in there.
Mm-hmm. I remember going because we did a lot of research over there. It was a lot of communities that had different fees that you had to pay to stay there. And
the fees were like $600 a month. It was like, I thought this was $700. The place to stay was $700, but then the fees were like $600. So it ended up being like $1,300. So we were like, wow. So yeah, you have
they have also other community like for elderly. You have to over 55. You have to pay taxes. So many different things that you have to.
So yes, as a homeowner, you have to be responsible for toilets, air conditioners, roofs, and things like that, and that can get costly, especially those roofs and air conditioners. Mm-hmm. How many you change in your house? I changed the roof and I changed the air conditioner.
No, I didn't have to change a roof or nothing like that. I had to do some repairs, yes, I did, because especially in Alabama, the type of material they used to build is just this how you get siding, whatever, this thing when the wind blows just go away every time you have to be, yeah. So I did a lot of repairs. I didn't have to change the roof or anything like that. Right. But yeah, it can be costly.
Right. So the next one is there's no guarantee that your house will appreciate. So that's a con.
Yeah, because depending on the area, if you didn't do your research, or it can be that you did your research that the area was good, but sometimes depending on what happened in the area, instead of go up, it can go down.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And do I go back to my house again?
Yeah. Yeah.
When I bought in the subdivision in Alabama, when I bought in that subdivision, it was brand new and great community. But I remember talking to my property manager, and he was saying how that place has went down. Broken down cars in the front yard. We ain't gonna say who doing that. You know what I'm saying? Basketball goes on. I said, man, let me get rid of this thing, boy. But although the price had increased, the house did appreciate. It had got to the point where, based on what I was seeing and hearing from my property manager, that it was at some point going to take a turn due to all the extracurricular activity and things that were going on in there. So my thing was, I got out before it was too late, and maybe I made a bad decision. I don't know, but I did. I just wanted to get out of it because the way he was talking about the property, the area, it just didn't look good to me. So the area that the house is in, it's still really a good area because they're still building out there. It's just that subdivision in itself has just went down or started to decline. So that was my reason, our reason for selling.
I mean, you're really taking a chance. I mean, it can be the change. It turned all the way. Everything started getting better. But what about fees? You keep going worse and worse, and then you property, instead of increasing, it's just declining.
So now that we've discussed the pros and cons of buying, let's talk about the pros and cons of renting. So some of them may be the opposite of what buying was, but we're still going to dig into it. So the first con is a greater potential for financial savings. So by renting versus buying, remember, if you're buying, you're taking a large portion or chunk of your money putting it on a down payment. But when you're renting, you can free up cash to do some other types of investments.
Yes, I agree. When you are renting, you don't have all the extra expenses. You have to comply. That way, they have you cash a little free. You can do other things.
Right.
So the next one is diversifying your investment, and it's basically the same thing. It is that that may be looking like dead money when you're paying rent because you ain't gonna receive that money back, but because you free some money, you are able to do other type of investment. You're able to use that money to do other things. You say, okay, this is what I want to pay for rent right now, and whatever I have left, I'm gonna use it to do other investment.
And that's the main talking point that people use when it comes to buying versus renting. The first thing they say, oh, you're wasting money by renting when you should be buying. And that just totally depends on what your goals are and what you're trying to do. So I agree that it helps diversify your investments. And the next con is, which is, like I said, some are gonna be the opposite, is that maintenance is not your problem. So we don't have to go into that too much. Maintenance is not your problem. You just, hey, toilet not working, you call the landlord.
Oh, no.
Well, we're not talking about here. We're talking about over there. Over here is a different story.
And it depends on what it is. Because some problems, like if it's something that you broken in a house, you have to fix it. If it's something like the structure or whatever, and it just damaged itself, or the weather, or the weather condition, those things. But if it's something that is just broken in the inside, or toilet, you did something to the toilet, you just stuck, then you have to fix those things. And I get it's the same thing in the US, right?
Well, certain things like over here, I noticed a little different. In the States, you can call for anything, especially if you're renting an apartment. If you think about our cabinet situation in our kitchen, if we were in Florida and one of the cabinets started to deteriorate because the wear and tear, they're gonna come in there and change it. Over here, that's not the case. That wasn't the case. We had to change the cabinets ourselves.
But one thing I think that is because, remember, in United States, and especially when we're in Florida, since you mentioned that apartment, in United States, the apartment have a, how you call it, a maintenance a office where you can go and they have maintenance and stuff on site where they do those kind of stuff. Here, you renting from individuals that they don't want to, I mean, this is your house, you're going to take up everything. Over there, you're renting from a entire, what would you call it? I don't know how you call that, for entire community that they most of the time have maintenance people that will take care of the damages.
Well, you may be right. I mean, have you ever rented a house yourself? So I don't know. I haven't rented a house to say where someone can call. I can call somebody and say that the cabinets are tearing down. Would you come?
I mean, in Florida, I mean, in United States?
Yeah.
I mean, I know.
Yeah, so anybody, if you could tell, if you could shed some light, if you were renting a house and the cabinets were deteriorating due to wear and tear, would you have to replace those cabinets yourself, or would the landlord or the owner of that property come and do it?
Yeah, that would be an interesting question, because most of the time we rented was apartment. They have an office, leasing office that you can go and just go whenever, whatever was something wrong, and they just come and do what they have to do.
Right.
And the next one is good short-term solution, meaning if you are not planning to stay for too long in the area, you can move. Or if the area is not too good, or if it's something you don't like about the area, or the your landlord or whatever, you are able to move.
If you want to be flexible and you don't plan to stay in the area long term, that's one of the pros of renting. Once you lease up, catch the next thing smoking.
Yes. So that is a good solution.
And the next pro is you only are required to put like a refundable deposit down versus going back to the 20 or 40% down payment on a house. So that 20%, that refundable deposit that you put down, theoretically, if you give the house or the apartment back in the same condition that you received it, you get that money back.
So now I think those are the pros that we have found on renting. So let's move on to the cons.
So the first con is there's no investment potential, meaning you could pay off your mortgage, but rent is permanent. And another talking point with that is that when you're paying rent, you're paying off someone else's mortgage, which is true. Mm-hmm. That's a true statement.
And that is one the one that most people hang on to it.
Yeah.
They say that's what they want to own because they know when they paying for something, I pay for something they're gonna be mine at some point. Instead of be paying, then it's gonna be yours.
Right.
The next one is personal security. It was a pro previously in a bind. It is a con here because of the same situation. Here, when you have to, that the landlord increases the price, that you have to move, that the landlord, it is kind of a headache person. So those are required things that you are required to move, and that you can be more moving from one place to another place.
And the next one is limited freedom. And you mentioned that's a con, which was a pro in home ownership, is that you're free to renovate and do whatever you want. Here, as a renter, if you're renting, you're not free to do whatever you want. So we don't have to go too further into that one there.
So you can do you cannot do whatever you want to do. You may paint a wall, but you better be sure that you have to leave that wall how you found it. So you have to paint it back before you leave.
Yeah, because sometimes if you paint it yellow and they're like, no,
you can, but you have to put it back like you found it.
Right, exactly. Yep.
And the next one is no chance for appreciation. So if the house appreciate, you don't gonna get benefit of it because if you have a landlord, if you are a tenant and you moving out, the next person is moving in, you ain't getting no benefit out of it. The next person gonna get no benefit out of it. That is just for the owner.
Right.
So that was a pro previously. Now it's a con.
All the money you're paying in and all the appreciation goes to the owner or the landlord. Mm-hmm. Yep.
The one that took the risk on the beginning.
Right.
Bye.
And another con is you may be getting up out of that thing sooner than you want to. Meaning that if you own a home, can't nobody come and kick you out. But what if you're renting and the landlord or the owner said, hey, my family is coming to move back and I want them to stay here. They want to rent this place out. Mm-hmm. Guess what you got to do? Catch the next thing smoking.
Yeah, you have to. You can stay in as long as you want, right. But as long as you're paying everything, you need to pay the mortgage and everything included for you to stay in as long as you want.
And that happened to your aunt, where she's living in an apartment, and the owner was saying something about her daughter, her daughter. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that.
Yes, that was her landlord, and she wanted her daughter to move to the house that way she can be close to her daughter. And she asked her to, at the end of the lease, to move out.
And what do? You got to get up out of that thing. Mm-hmm. So
because it's not yours.
It's not yours.
You haven't bought it. So you're renting.
And not only that, another you're right, but not even that. Something else also is that they may just decide to sell it. Mm-hmm. And hey, I want to go ahead and sell it. I won't deal with this no more. And guess what? You got to get your stuff and you got to leave. So. That's one thing that, it's really unpredictable. So hopefully we're not giving our landlord no ideas about wanting to come and say something to us. We may have to buy this thing. What you think?
I mean, yeah, that would be the ideal thing to do.
Yeah. So since I said that, I guess it's good to talk about our plans in terms of buying and renting. And when people ask us, why are we not buying and why are we renting? So, you know the answer to that?
No. Do you?
Of course I know.
Okay.
Of course I know.
Tell us the answer.
So, the answer is in some of the things that we discussed, but so there's a couple reasons. We've only been here 3 years, and our first year, maybe first year and a half, we were just, getting our footing. And we kind of just want to see what's where the happenings are, where's a good place for us to put our money. Not saying that there are no good places, but we just want to make sure that when we invest our money, that we're putting it in the right place. As a lot of you know, and as or might not know, but we know that we spent a lot of money in the past investing in a whole bunch of stuff. Restaurants, hair salons, transportation services and things like that, where we lost a lot of money. So this time around, we want to be careful to make sure that we're doing the right thing, and that when we do it, that we get the right return on our investment. That's number one. But that's really like I wouldn't say it's the main reason, but it's one of the reasons. The other reason is because when we talked about the cost of the down payment, especially here in Dominican Republic, where you're going to be putting about 30 to 40% down, depending on your credit. So if you're looking to get a $200,000 house, you know what 40% of that is?
280.
It's 80,000. Yeah, because of 50% is 100. That's $80,000. So to me, I feel like I could take that 80,000 and I could put that somewhere else to make more money than to put it in a property right now that's gonna take a minute to appreciate, where I could put that in other investments. So that's really the main reason, is that our money is tied up in other investments that we're seeing returns on. So once we meet that threshold that we have, because we do have a threshold that we're saying, okay, once our money turns in this investment and we get X amount of dollars, then this is when we're going to, go all in. Prior to that happening, what we are wanting to do too, or what we are doing, is we want to start or continue to invest in land. We do have some land, as you guys know, in Punta Cana. We're also looking to purchase some more land in the Puerto Plata area. We're just looking at other areas too that come available that may be great areas for potential growth, like places like in Pedernales, Michis, areas like that we've heard that are on the rise. So that's why at the moment we haven't decided to buy. So for us at this particular moment, renting works for us. Buying is not out of the equation, but right now renting works for us, and buying as much land as possible is something that we're focused on. Did I tell you that?
No, I didn't know that, but it's good to know. No, I'm just joking. Yeah, most of the thing I did know that we prefer rent that all because we are thinking another investment. We thought about use our money the more, I would say, efficient. No, efficient is
Right.
not the word, but the smartest way that we could do it, and that's why we are taking our time before we say, yeah, this is what we want.
Right, and that doesn't mean that there are not any good investments out there, because there are. There are many of them. We presented one the other day, but again, before we moved here, we had a goal and a plan. So we've just been working our plan, and we're going to continue to work our plan until we reach the threshold that we say that we want to do, not because someone's saying that we ought to do something. We're going to work our plan. So, and another reason too, I forgot to mention this, is I personally believe that you rent where you live. That's just me. That you rent where you live and then you own other properties. Now there's a caveat to that. I do believe if you're paying your rent through active income, meaning you have to get up and go to work every single day, or you have to do something every single day to pay rent, then you should be trying to figure out a way to own where you live, because that is sort of like dead money. But if you have different assets out there that's bringing in you cash flow, and that cash flow is paying for where you live at, where you're renting at, then there's nothing wrong with that. That's just how I feel. Now, people may think different, and I don't know why, because those assets that you have out there, they're still appreciating, or theoretically, they should be appreciating. So it's not like that you don't have any, you're not having any type of, you're not building any type of wealth, or you're not having any appreciation in real estate. You're just renting where you live. Again, now, if you're at a point where, you got millions and millions and millions of dollars, then yeah, just, cash out, throw it on the table and buy it. But we're not there yet.
Mm-hmm. So yes, those are the reasons for us renting instead of buying. So everybody, yeah, like you was mentioning earlier, everybody have their reason why they're doing things.
Right.
Probably some people work owning. Sometimes people just, that's what they work for, because they want to own their home where they live. That's want to keep going. Some other people are not even interested in investing, just to own a house.
Right.
So it depends on what it works for you.
Right. And like I say, buying a home is best for some and for others it's not. And that's just, I think a lot of times when people say this, like, oh, you need to be buying, to me, it's almost like it's ingrained in their mind based on how, especially Americans, that we feel, we're told that the American dream is buying a house. And I think a lot of it is just ingrained in them and not really understanding how wealth and finances work. And not saying that that's not one way to build wealth, but just because you got $1 million house, I mean, well, not $1 million house, just because you got a $200,000 house, that don't mean you got $200,000. You just got a house that's $200,000. I mean, if you sell it, you may have $200,000.
Probably you just have a problem of $200,000.
Right. So that doesn't mean anything. So we just got to be careful about the things that we repeat because we heard somebody say it generation after generation after generation. Again, it does work for some people, but others, it may not.
Yeah, I just want to mention it. It's just not the American, like you mentioned, that is in America, but also that is here where you growing up with your parents, you need to buy your house. That is something I think that was like, that is how people used to think. That was the way they was supposed to be. Nowadays, people are thinking different. People are thinking in build wealth instead of getting in debt or have to pay loans. So in different ways that people are doing things now, and these people mind changing more than anything.
Right. Yeah, because it's different ways to build wealth now. Back then, building wealth was through home ownership, and that is a way to it, but that's not the only way.
So guys,
that's a pretty long video.
Yeah,
man.
this is a long video. So if you have anything to add to this, just put it down below. I don't think this need too much to add because it is too much. But some people, I know that some people have other ideas, other things to say about this subject. So you can either leave a comment down below here or send us an email. But for right now, this is all we have. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and also share. And we will see you in our next one. Bye.
Peace.